Welcome back to 360 Sports. I'm Gwen Evans, and today I'm joined by Brendan, Alex, and Owen. And today we're talking all things March Madness. Diving right into the headlines, the Iowa Hawkeyes are the talk of the men's bracket as they took down Florida, making the Gators the first one seed to fall in the tournament so far. Can Iowa continue to win, and who's the next one seed to go?
Well, first off, they need some added security at the stadium. Do you know where they're playing? I couldn't tell you the venue, but Nebraska-Iowa is already such a big rivalry, and so these teams know each other pretty well. I just think Nebraska's defense is just too good for Iowa, and I just think Iowa's shooting numbers are going to go down. I mean, they shot the lights out against Florida, and that's what they needed. But I don't know if you're going to get that 2 games in a row. I mean, I don't really trust a team in March Madness that lost to Penn State, so that's just more of a personal thing for me.
Yeah, I mean, shout out Josh Reed. But regardless, Iowa can absolutely beat Nebraska. Nebraska, they shot 56% against Vanderbilt. They shot, I believe, 48% from 3, and they won by 2. Iowa was able to slow the game down against Florida. They were able to completely bleed them out the entire second half. I think they can do that against a Nebraska team that likes to work quick. And Bennett Sturts has played horrible throughout the tournament so far. He's shooting 9 of 33, 3 of 19 from 3, and they're still able to win. The role guys have stepped up. Fulgaris, obviously, the game winner against Florida. I think if Sturts can play average basketball, Iowa can absolutely win this game.
Yeah, he hasn't carried the load for the Hawkeyes. He was 0 for 9 from distance against the Gators. And this Iowa team, they've competed with Nebraska all season long. They both split the series. Iowa won the first meeting 57-52. And then Nebraska won in overtime in the season finale. So it's really a toss-up, and anyone can take it.
Yeah. So it seems like we think that Iowa and Nebraska is going to be a tight game.
I think it's a coin flip, and I think it's one Nebraska wins. I just think they have the better talent profile, and I think they're just the hotter team right now.
Do we think that
it's going to be a crazy environment, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we think that Duke, Arizona, or Michigan don't end up making the Final Four?
If I had to guess right now, it would be Duke just because of the region. I mean, this St. John's game, I'd say probably 60-40 Duke at this point, 65-35, but then you got to play either Michigan State or UConn to make the Final Four just because of the region. I think Duke is the most likely one seed to go down next.
I think it's Arizona. I've yet to see Tommy Lloyd get it really done. He's a fantastic coach. They might have the most talent in the entire tournament, but Arkansas also has a talent profile that can totally match with them, and they have the best player in the game. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name.
Darius Acuff.
Darius Acuff. Gosh, research this. But Darius Acuff is the best player in the game. If he takes over, I think Arizona goes down in Sweet 16. It's kind of a hot take, but they're the SEC champions for a reason. That's a very good conference. So I really think Calipari might be the better coach in that game.
Yeah, with the 1 seeds left, I think the Blue Devils are the weakest. I watched UConn in person. They are on a mission. Alex Caravan is an amazing veteran senior leader for the Huskies. And whoever takes that game, Michigan State or UConn, I think if Duke gets it done over St. John's is a tough team too. Rick Pitino, you can't count him out once he reaches the Sweet 16. And it's really a toss-up in that region, and that's why Duke is probably going to be the team. If a 1 seed falls, it'll be them because they've looked the weakest.
I mean, St. John's has owned this Duke team. I mean, they've been in the last 2 years. I think Pitino has Hurley's number, and I don't think you can say that for many coaches, if any, at all. So, I think St. John's has a very good chance of beating Duke too.
Absolutely. Personally, I think to toss up in between Arizona and Duke. I think one of them will go down. I think Michigan definitely a lock for the Final Four, though.
They got the easy one.
I don't know about a lock. They still have Iowa State in the region. And the way Iowa State has looked, I mean, they look like they were going to fall to Kentucky, and they just went absolutely berserk in the second half. They can shoot the lights out. I know Michigan's a really good defensive team. They're my national champions at this point in time, but Iowa State can absolutely give them a shot in the Elite Eight.
They do need Joshua Jefferson to get fully healthy. He missed the last game. He needs to get healthy if they face Michigan in the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
I don't believe in this Iowa State team in the way that I believe in the Michigan team. But moving on to the women's side of March Madness, Virginia pulled off the biggest upset so far in the women's bracket, defeating Iowa inside of Carver Hawkeye Arena, who's now take on TCU in the Sweet 16. Can they continue on?
I think they absolutely can. I mean, this is a team that's battle tested so far. They played 3 games. They were a first 14. They won their last 2 games in overtime. This game against Iowa went into double overtime. Kamara Johnson played all 50 minutes of the game. She had 28. She's going to take over again against TCU. The matchup with Olivia Miles is going to be something to watch. They're both averaging 19.5 a game. Virginia, they got better rebounders. TCU's defense is a little better. This is another game that it's a toss-up right now, but the way Virginia has faced adversity and been rolling so far, I'd probably lean Virginia in this game.
I just think the talent gap's too big. I think, obviously, first 14, Virginia's super hot. But, I mean, I think the slipper falls off at this point. I don't know. I just feel like TCU just has the better team overall.
Yeah, TCU, Olivia Miles is one of the best players in the country. Her time at Notre Dame just showed that, and now she's at TCU carrying the load for them. I think TCU takes it. Virginia's been playing well. They've battled in close games, got it done. But I think, again, the Cinderella is just won't fit anymore.
I don't know. I disagree. I think Virginia might have this one. TCU struggled against an admittedly underrated UW team. It took them to overtime. And I think TCU's showing a little bit of that vulnerability. They don't quite have they don't have the team chemistry, I think, that Virginia does. Virginia, like, they believe in the ability to get to the next round. They're rolling. They're having fun. And I think TCU's surviving, which I think isn't a good way to get through March Madness.
The one thing that would have worried me heading into this tournament is that Virginia hasn't won a ranked game all season, but then you go and you take down Iowa. I think building off that momentum, that's all you need at this point in the year. That's why I think they've got a pretty good shot in this game.
Sometimes it's not the best team, it's the hottest team.
Exactly.
Yes,
yeah. That's what
sure.
March is all about. And looking at one of the hottest teams in the entire nation, UConn continues to look like the team to beat in the women's tournament, winning their first two games by over 100 points combined. Can anyone stop the Huskies?
No. Nobody's going to beat them.
No, they're so good.
They've won one game by single-digit points this year. It was a 3-point win versus Michigan.
Yeah.
Their average margin of victory is 38 points per game.
Absurd.
38. And, they're undefeated for a reason. They're not going to lose. Azzi Fudd and Sarah Strong, they're the only 15-point per game scorers on this team. They have the best defense in the nation. When you're a team that can rely on defense instead of just scoring 90 a game, it's a recipe to not slip up against any of these teams. And that's what I would consider any kind of close game or loss in this tournament. No matter who they play, it would be a slip up.
I mean, there's everybody else, there's the 1 seeds, and then there's UConn. That's what it is.
You might not be going high enough.
It might be up here. In any given game, they probably have the 3 best players. 1, 2, 3. 1, possibly.
I would go higher, more than
1,
that.
2, 3, 4. I mean, I got to be generous. You never know if you're going to run this.
I mean, Syracuse, they're a 9 seed. It's not like they're a 16 seed. It just goes to show the distance between UConn in the field.
When you leave the opposing team's coach crying in the post game, pretty much, because we always get in a region with you. We cannot beat them. We scored 12 points and a half against you.
Yeah.
You're on a different level of dominance, and I don't expect that to stop at all.
Yeah. I mean,
it's unheard of.
So we don't think that, like, South Carolina, UCLA, not even, like, getting close.
I mean, they'll give them a fight, but I don't think they're beating them.
I mean,
UConn will have to lose a game. Because nobody's going to beat them, right? They're going to have UConn's going to have to beat themselves for them to lose because they're just so much better than everybody else.
Like, I think any margin within 15, it's like the other team played almost as well as they could have. That's about the level that they're at compared to the field.
One team's going to have to play 100%. UConn might have to play 50. They're that good.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah, because their bench even could probably take.
Their bench could probably be a 3 seed in this tournament.
And the way they're coached by Oriema, it's like they said it after
ridiculous.
Round of 64 game. It was like, we're not heading into this thinking any game is a rollover. We're preparing for the next round with every game. We're playing 100%. That is the only way I can see them losing is if it's just like a sleepwalk through. But Oriema's not going to have them playing that way.
No, he's too good of a coach to let that happen. But moving on to our board segment. Legends are made in March and April. Some are bigger than others. We'll head to the board and give our picks for the players who we consider to be Mr. and Mrs. March. Brennan, you're up first.
All right. I admittedly hit a couple of bangers here. I don't think that there's really much debate. I believe we're starting on the men's side. It's Cardiac Kemba. I mean, you know the story already. 5 games in 5 days in the Big East tournament. Then they go into the NCAA tournament as a 3 seed. Kemba averages 23.5 on the way to a championship, including 36 against San Diego State. That was a Kawhi Leonard San Diego State team where they were losing in the second half. And then during a timeout, Jamal Franklin goes over and bumps Kemba. I don't know who he thought he was, but Kemba took over. From that point on, the rest of the tournament, they beat Kentucky in the Final Four, Butler in the championship. An absolutely incredible run by one of the most improbable champions we've ever seen on the men's side. On the women's side, it is a girl who hit arguably the two greatest shots maybe in women's college basketball history. Arike Ogunbowale, she hits the game winner in the Final Four against UConn, an undefeated UConn team, calls her own number, hits a mid-range shot on the right wing with 3 seconds left to win the game. Then they go into the final against a Mississippi State team that was 37-1. At this point, Notre Dame has 7 scholarship players because of injury. There was no reason they should have won this game. They were down 5 with 2 minutes left. They come back, tie it, 3 seconds left on the inbound. Ogunbowale gets it in the corner, hits one of the most ridiculous running threes I've ever seen in my life, not just to win the game, but to win the national championship. It's not often that you hit a game winner against an undefeated UConn team, and it's the second most impressive thing you did that week. I mean, this is one of the craziest 2-game stretches we've seen from a single player, and absolutely a March Madness legend.
Like you said, some of the best shots in women's March Madness. Which shots do you think in the men's are matching up to this?
I mean, you look at the Leitner shot in
Sure.
92, which I think
Yeah,
somebody will
Chris
cover.
Jenkins.
The Chris Jenkins
It's the best shot
shot
of
to
the
win the
season.
but like even then the
That's
one
up there.
against Mississippi State, that's to
Yeah.
win the national championship. And it's against teams that had a combined 73-1
Yeah.
record. I mean, you can't do any better than
Back-to-back,
that.
too.
Yeah.
I think what's more impressive than those shots is you being able to pronounce that name so easily. I would totally butcher that.
LA Sparks
Yeah.
legend. Not legend, but current player.
All right, it's my turn. All right. When you think March Madness, what do you think? You think buzzer beaters, but most of all, you think of Cinderella. And there's nobody more Cinderella than Doug Eddard, right? This guy is a legend, right? He's just pulling up from God knows where and hitting shots to beat Kentucky, beat Purdue. I mean, they were one game away from the Final Four. I think they're the greatest Cinderella team of all time, based on how big their gym is, like 10 times smaller than Rec Hall. It's unbelievable how small that college is and the teams they beat on the way, Kentucky and Purdue mainly. I mean, this guy's a legend, and who doesn't love Cinderella, and who doesn't love a cold white boy that shoots a million threes every single March? And then, I mean, you can't go wrong with Caitlin Clark. I mean, she's the GOAT. I mean, right? Like she's the college GOAT. I mean, she brought so much motion to women's college basketball that everybody and their mother was tuning in. Everybody cared, right? That I don't think we're ever reaching those heights again. Seriously, like that was the biggest. When she was playing, everybody was watching, and there was for a good reason. I mean, there's reason she's the women's Steph Curry, right? She might even be better comparatively to the rest of the league. I mean, she's on her own level, and she carried that Iowa team to back-to-back Final Fours and a national championship. So I don't know. She is, or a national championship game. They didn't win, but yeah. I mean, she's the GOAT of college basketball for a reason.
I mean, I think she's definitely the undisputed GOAT of college basketball, but do you think her not winning a single national championship kind of takes away that March Madness part of it?
I don't think so, because that has more to do with her team than it does with her, right? If they lost because Caitlin Clark was not at 100%, that's a different story. I mean, your team couldn't grab a rebound,
Because
right?
you run into that LSU team.
Yeah,
it's fair,
it
yeah.
was unlikely that squad had a chance of winning.
Exactly.
You
Right.
ran into that LSU team, that South Carolina team
Right.
with those Twin Towers. I mean,
What do you
Not much
think?
Caitlin Clark can do about
yeah,
that.
not
Yeah.
much
It doesn't matter if
It's not
Caitlin
her
Clark's the
job.
best team on the floor when the other team has the second, third, fourth best teams on every given night, especially when you're playing at the elite level.
Definitely. Yeah. Owen?
So my pick for the men's, if you knew my bracket last year, I had to pick Walter Clayton Jr. He had 34 points against Auburn in the Final Four to advance to the national championship, where the Gators got their first national championship since their back-to-back run. And he was just amazing in the tournament last year and legend in my heart. And then for my women's bracket, I got Breanna Stewart. When you think of UConn basketball, you think of Breanna Stewart, 4-time most outstanding player in the Final Four and a 4-time national champion. So you think of UConn basketball, you think of Breanna Stewart and what she did for that program.
Yeah, absolutely. Brianna Stewart, I think one of, like, probably the undisputed GOAT of women's March Madness, but Sarah Strong could potentially end up getting those 4 national championships.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think if she ends up getting those 4, she's up there with Brianna Stewart or still?
I definitely do. I think any UConn forward, I mean, when you look at Sarah Strong, you think of the teams in the past with all their stars, and Sarah Strong is definitely on that trajectory.
Going back to that Walter Clayton pick, I think it's so underrated having a closer in the tournament.
Yeah.
We saw with this Florida team, you got Xavier Lee kind of doing whatever with 4 seconds left.
Yes.
It didn't have a guy, really a go-to guy to take the final shot.
Yeah.
He did it in like every single game
Yes.
that was within one possession. It was an unbelievable run.
When I thought my bracket was busted, he came back and won it for Florida
that
every
Texas
single
Tech
time.
game was one of the greatest
Yes.
things I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, he's the definition of ice in his veins. I mean, the guy made every single shot he
Yes.
needed to.
Yeah.
And then Florida did what Houston did in the national championship game against Iowa. So, which I thought was poetic.
Yes, definitely. All right. Well, my picks kind of got taken by Owen and Brendan, so I had to pivot a little bit. But to get us started, I had to go with Christian Laettner. Part of what makes March so incredible is the villains that come out of it, and no one's really been a villain quite like Christian Laettner. To stomp on a man's chest and then hit the game-winning shot to send your team to the Final Four is about as heartbreaking as it gets. And I think he really embodies the spirit of March, and just to be willing to be that person that everyone watching who isn't supporting Duke absolutely hates. Also, he won 2 national championships, 91 and 92. That's some pretty good stats. But for my second pick, I tried to stick with the kind of villain type thing because I think that Haley Van Lith is one of the most underrated villains of March Madness. She, at Louisville, was one of the clutchest players on the court at all times. She hit all the shots she needed to hit, except for the ones to send her team to the national championship. But other than that, she carried that team. She was unbelievable. And then she had a little bit of a down year with LSU. And everyone kind of thought that she was going to be done. And then she came back with TCU and she showed that she wasn't done and that she could still be that clutch player. And I think that she really embodies kind of the grit that one needs to become an icon of March Madness.
After that St. John's, Kansas game, somebody asked Patino about the game winner, and he said, I hope we have another one in store so we can get back at Laettner for what happened in 92, because he was the coach of that Kentucky team.
gosh.
The fact that there's a shot that's that iconic, that you still have a coach,
shot,
one of the greatest
yeah.
coaches that we've ever seen, still thinking about that and is haunted by it to this day. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, if you haven't yet watched the I Hate Christian Laettner documentary.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh my,
good.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Nobody liked Duke.
No.
Nobody still likes Duke, but
Yeah.
it was at a different level at that time.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But we talked a little bit about St. Peter's, so moving on to talking a little bit about the Cinderellas. Well, teams like Texas on the men's side and Virginia on the women's side have made the Sweet 16 runs as double-digit seeds. Can they really be considered Cinderella stories?
I would have to say yes, but it just doesn't feel the same. It's in that category. You can't really argue that Cinderellas are just for mid-majors because we were categorizing NC State as a Cinderella back in 2024. When I think of Cinderellas, I think of the 2018 Loyola Chicago, obviously St. Peter's, George Mason back in 06, 2011 VCU with Shaka Smart. That's my expectation when I see Cinderellas. And with Texas, Iowa, Virginia, you look at those teams and the brand comes into conversation when you get categorized as a Cinderella. So I think that's where things draw the line, where the brand is, all those teams are great sports programs. And I think that's where you draw the line at Cinderella.
Well, like you just said, it doesn't feel the same. It's not going to be the same the way the transfer portal is now. Like with this Iowa team, a lot of these guys followed Ben McCollum from Northwest Missouri State, or they followed him from Drake, like Bennett Sturts. These guys from the mid-major schools that could potentially go on these runs, they're just going to kind of the lower level Power 4 schools. And I would still consider them Cinderellas because I think of it more as the expectation they have going into the tournament instead of the brand name. If Texas goes on to the Elite Eight or the Final Four, you cannot not call it a Cinderella run. It absolutely is because they go from a first 4 team to a potential Final Four team. I don't think we have to adjust our expectations now from the brand to the makeup of the team.
I think the best way to gauge this is when UCLA went to the Final Four and from the first 4 in 2020 and they lost to Gonzaga. Did you consider them a Cinderella?
Yeah.
It's just hard for me because the University of Texas at Arlington is the richest school in America. I just can't. I can't see them as underdogs. I just can't.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be more of a me thing, but like in Virginia, they have a rich basketball history.
I agree.
I'm like, it's hard for me to do that, right? Because they always have that in them, right? Sean Miller's a great coach, man. Like he's done a lot of good things with Xavier before he came to Texas. I think the most telling stat. I was talking about this with my dad the other day. Shout out, Dad. But there are 3 tournaments in NCAA March Madness history where a mid-major did not make the Sweet 16, and that is last year, this year, and 1983.
Yeah.
I think that's very telling. And for me, Cinderella has to be like unlikely. Nobody saw it coming. Like if somebody was like, "Yeah, Texas is going to make the first 4, or Sweet 16," I'm like, "Yeah, I can see that." Right? I mean, because they have quad 1 wins. Did St. Peter's have a quad 1 win before they ended the tournament? No. Did George Mason? No.
Yeah.
Right? Like Texas is playing SEC teams all year. So when they're entering March Madness, they're playing teams of similar caliber that they're playing all year. So to ask them to beat teams of similar caliber that they've been playing all year is really not that big of an ask.
I got a counterpoint for you.
Okay.
Let's say High Point had beaten Arkansas.
Yeah.
And they made the Sweet 16. Would you consider that a Cinderella run, Cinderella type run?
Yeah.
Them, Utah State, these schools all are very rich in NIL, and it all goes toward their
Did
basketball
the big
team.
players still go
So
there?
but they've got
Exactly.
the money, they've got the funds to do it. So I would say, like, that's what I mean is that it changes so much with the landscape that we are in now. These schools that like Utah State, yeah, they only have really a basketball program to worry about. So that's where all of their money goes toward.
Darius Acuff Jr. is never going to go to High Point, so it doesn't really matter how much money they have until they go up to a Power 4 level.
We've seen it
it's
in
not gonna
football.
matter.
So we've seen it in football. People go into schools that you would never really expect just because the money's bringing them
I know
there.
what
And I
you're
think
gonna
we'll see
say.
that in
I
basketball.
know what you're going to say. Deion Sanders, right? Jackson State. That's the example.
That's an example of it.
I agree with you. I think that they can't be considered Cinderellas. I would, the way I put it is, I think that they can be considered underdogs, but they cannot be considered Cinderellas. The way I think about it, like Cinderella, is I want to, like, have never heard about the school. I want to not never heard about the school. Hold on. Slow down.
I need these people to have like rats
Yeah.
in their gym. That's an underdog.
Exactly. Thank you. I think it needs to be the kind of thing where the amount of applications to that school spikes in the next year because their team made like the Sweet 16. I don't think that Texas or Virginia like doing well in March Madness is a Cinderella because, like you said, they already have like all that money that's getting poured into not just their athletics but also the entire school.
The last thing I'll say, 1983, NC State winning the championship as an 8 seed, I think, heading into the ACC tournament as like a 7, 8, 9 seed, running the table the entire rest of the season. I think a lot of people would call that a Cinderella season. That's a major school. They might not have been good for a major school, but they were one. They got hot at the right time. No one expected them to win the championship, and they did. I think that's the definition of a Cinderella run.
I think it also
It really just depends on your
how,
definition.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
guess.
also
Yeah.
depends on how far the school goes, I think. So
That's fair.
Like,
yeah.
I don't think UCLA going to the Final Four in. I mean, it is a super unlikely underdog run, but it does not sound like because let's think about this. Let's think about this from a lore example. Where was Cinderella before she was a princess? She was in a closet every single day. Texas is not living in a closet every single day, so that's why I think it has to be a mid-major.
Yes. All right. Well, I think we got to move on from this, but we're going to justify some of our failures with our brackets. A perfect bracket is nearly unattainable. It has been so far.
Not until
But
next
every year we try. Now that we failed, we'll try to reason with our worst bracket picks.
I picked Hofstra over Alabama. I thought the off-the-court issues with Aiden Holloway and the entire team was going to be too much. I don't like these streaky shooting teams in the tournament. Alabama's proved that in the past later on in the tournament. But I thought with Cruz Davis and that backcourt for Hofstra, that was really good. I thought that they would be able to sneak one out, just given all the other circumstances. Did not happen. They lost by 20, but they kept it close until like 13 minutes left in the game. So I'm mad at it, but I think it was reasonable at the time.
Yeah, I had Akron winning, beating Texas Tech, and I just thought because the JT Toppin loss was too much, and they've just been super cold. So I thought it was a good pick, but apparently Akron didn't want to make a layup for me, so apparently they hate me.
Yeah, I saw a path for UCLA. I had them in the Elite Eight. A bit of a stretch now that you think about it. But UConn, they were going into the tournament looked at as maybe the worst 2C coming in after losing in the Big East championship and losing in the season finale to Marquette. They were fumbling down the stretch, and I thought that would come back and bite them. Donovan Dent was coming off of a great down the stretch run in the regular season and into the conference tournament with his assist to turnover ratio. That was insane. But Tyler Bilodeau's injury definitely crept up to them late into that game against the Huskies, and the Bruins going to the Elite Eight. That was a great pick for me.
I also had UCLA beating UConn. I mean, I thought Donovan Dent was going to have one of those March Madness type of runs that we look back on in history, like a Walter Clayton type thing. But the offense sputtered, and it was a shame.
All right. Well, to wrap up the show, I'll share what I had as my Final Four, which is potentially one of the worst lapses in judgments that anyone has ever witnessed.
For this.
I had Duke, Michigan, Vanderbilt, and Gonzaga in my Final Four. And I think that just really shows that I should never be allowed to make those brackets ever again. But thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Gwen Evans. Today I've been joined by Alex, Brennan, and Owen. Check out tomorrow's NBA show, and thank you so much for joining us.